Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Play All the Games. I'm Andy.
I'm Katie.
And today we want to take a moment and talk to you guys about the 2016 potential class of Video Game Hall of Fame. World Video Game Hall of Fame, I should say. Thank you.
I don't know if they consulted the world about this, but...
It's the internet. The world has a chance to be polled anyway, but they kind of do their own decisions. They just kind of let people talk about it. But anyway, so these are the 2016 inductees, and hopefully we're predicting... Well, we're predicting our finalists. Yet. Not inductees, you're right.
Nominees.
Nominees. I always fuck those words up. So, I haven't got past that. These are the nominees, and we have picked each our 6 that we think will be the inductees in this sophomore class of the World Video Game Hall of Fame. And Katie has researched a little bit about this and probably honestly done a little bit more than me about it, but we looked up sort of the criteria that they're looking for.
I didn't write it down, though.
I've got it here. We can research that because, hey, technology. But with that said, who got in last year?
Last year, 2015 inductees were Pong, Pac-Man, Tetris, Super Mario Brothers, Doom, and World of Warcraft.
So, pretty solid list there.
And spans, that's a
spans
broad
from
range of...
the beginning with Pong to 2004 with Warcraft. I think, I want to say 04, maybe 03, but I think 04.
I think it's 04.
Yeah. And then, just so to give them an idea, some of the other nominees from last year, just to give you an idea where this is all coming from, it went from like as new as and stupid as Angry Birds. All the way back to, what, Space Invaders, Oregon Trail?
FIFA, Legend of Zelda, Minecraft, Oregon Trail, Pokemon Red and Blue, The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a pretty representative sample they're going for, and they tend to go across the years, and you can see how they have, like, games from all the way to the beginning of gaming to... I don't want to say not now, but...
I bet Angry Birds was, like, really popular as a nominee last year, and you'll never see it on the list again.
Probably not. It's going to be a long time before that's relevant, because the things they talked about, and just to...
Glad they didn't induct that last year.
Yeah, no shit. Some of the things they look at are just how iconic they are.
I think they called it icon status.
Yeah, just like how, the icon status, like we all know it. We've all probably played it at some point or seen it or at least know things about it. Its longevity, how long did it last, how long have things about it lasted.
Influence?
Its influence on game sense, and genres, and worldwide impact.
Oh, yeah,
like, worldwide,
how far
it reached, globally, not just the U.S. or Japan or, around. So that's the criteria they're kind of looking at, and they only pick 6, which is difficult because of this year's nominees. Picking 6 is... There's a lot of really
I don't even
titles.
have a solid 6. I have 5 solids and 1 that I'm like 50-50
gonna decide on when you get there.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm gonna decide. Because at first it was one thing, and then it became the other, and now I'm like thinking maybe it'll be the one I originally thought. I don't know.
And I mean, that's the thing. There's debate on these. Like, if you can only pick 6, which 6 do you pick?
Although Andy and I have 3 that we're sure.
3
The first 3 we picked were pretty much we agree on and think that are going to make it in this year.
We're pretty sure those 3. Like, I don't think there's any debate.
They
on
were
those
also
3
3 that were on the list last year. So.
Yeah. So that's definitely true. So I think and some of the other ones.
Oh wait, no, one of them wasn't.
One of them was not. That's right. I thought
2
so. 2
of them were.
And some of the ones from last year are on this year's list, but, is this their year? Maybe not. So, this year's list, what are we looking at?
The nominees are Elite, Minecraft, again, it was nominated last year, Nurburgring? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You are. Nurburgring is a famous...
I even put the little accent on it that I don't even know what it is.
Nurburgring, for those of you wondering, is a famous racing track located in Germany. It's a very woodsy, curvy track. It's located like in a very nice woodsy setting. It's a very curvy track, long track, like 5 miles, I think.
List because I think it's got something.
And people have a tendency to write things in chalk on it. It's interesting that this is included here because it actually was introduced to most people probably in Gran Turismo. Fun facts.
Okay, Pokemon Red and Green, which I don't know about the different Pokemons. Last year, Pokemon Red and Blue was nominated. This year it's Red and Green.
I can talk a little bit more about that, but I'll probably skip it for
Civilization.
Now. Yep. Similar.
Tomb Raider. GTA 3, Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yep.
Street Fighter 2.
Hadouken!
The Sims. John Madden Football. Sonic the Hedgehog again. The Oregon Trail again, Space Invaders again, The Legend of Zelda again, and Final Fantasy.
Yep. So as you can see, I mean, picking 6 out of that list, there's a few that I think are clear outliers.
Actually, let me just look at what's nominated this year that was also nominated last year. Well, Legend of Zelda, Space Invaders, The Oregon Trail, Sonic, and The Sims.
And the weird,
and did I say
the
Minecraft?
Pokemon,
And
yeah,
Minecraft.
and the weird Pokemon thing, which it was red and blue last year. It's red and green this year. And I think, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think what happened is like Japan got green, red, and blue, and we got red and blue or something. I don't know.
I have no idea.
And then eventually we got leaf green. I think that's how that works. Confession time. Game Boy is kind of the
Pokemon
one
Lilac
gap
is
in
my
my knowledge.
favorite.
Yeah, I'm waiting on Plaid.
Chartreuse?
I hope Zorak's a Pokemon. So, yeah, Pokemon Plaid. Make it happen, Nintendo. So, with that said, here are our best guesses, each of us, on the 6 that we think belong in and should be voted in and judged and juried in this year. To the
This
World
is
Hall of
more
Fame for video
mostly
games.
what I think is going to make
Yeah.
it in more than what I would want, because I really want, like, Tomb Raider is one of my favorite
Yeah.
games of all time. I don't think it's going to make it in this year.
And
Like, we were talking about it before. Maybe
Yeah.
next year if it's not.
I think it's just not quite...
But-
it belongs there, but I don't think it's its year yet. And for me, this list I have is pretty much things I think will be there, too. So, just to lay that out there.
We have 3 in common, and
Yep.
we differ on the other 3. Well, no, we've got 4 in common.
Yeah,
and we
4 in
differ on
common.
2 of
So,
them,
2 of them. So, should we lead
All right.
off with one of the,
Well,
the 3
the
locks?
ones
or-
that at the top of your list, that's the one I'm sure.
Yeah, so
For sure.
let's go
That's
ahead and
number
do these
1
3.
for me.
So, we're pretty sure...
And I was shocked that it didn't make it in last year, so
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to make it in
I don't
this
think
year.
there's any question.
The Legend of Zelda.
Legend of Zelda is going to make it in.
I was really surprised when it didn't make it in last
Yeah,
year, and
like-
it was on the nominee list, so.
It gave us so many things, not just in terms of... I mean, you look at its gameplay and what it sort of pioneered, really, like an open top-down world, an open adventure world, really. Nothing had quite been like that in terms of an adventure game like that. You look at the ongoing, lasting cultural phenomenon, I mean...
Honestly, that's probably the only Zelda game I've played and finished. But there's so many others. I'm out of the loop, you guys.
Unfortunately, because part of the problem is...
I sort of gave up on
adventure-
Nintendo systems, though, after the NES anyway. And, well, the original Game Boy, but
Yeah.
it's just not my thing anymore. It hasn't been since.
Well, and part of the problem, too, is Zelda 2 on the NES, Adventure of Link, is garbage. But Zelda
Really
3,
need to
Link to the
check out
Past,
those
comes on
CDI
Super Nintendo.
games.
Oh,
Someone send us a
Jesus.
CDI, and we'll send us a CDI, and we'll
Yeah,
play
send us a
them for our
Philips
channel.
CDI in the Zelda games, and I promise you we will play them on the channel, so we will make that happen. But I just don't think there's any argument about Legend of Zelda. When you look at what it did, what it opened up, I mean, there's still clearly everybody's clamoring for the next good Zelda game. It's to this day, and it's one of the few things that Nintendo consistently gets right, even though there's been a few misses. So I don't think there's any question this is a year for Zelda. In fact,
it doesn't really get more classic than that game.
it was kind of hard to see how maybe it did or didn't last year, but last year is when they stretched it and said, okay, let's go all the way to 04 and get Warcraft in. So they're trying to do a range of years, too, not all early stuff.
I probably would have left out World of Warcraft
Yeah.
and put in Legend of Zelda.
And
I mean,
or
the
Doom, even.
the inductees last year was a solid.
It was solid, but it also shows that they're doing that range of years, which is reflected in our list as well. So I think
More
maybe...
Andy's list than mine, I
Yeah,
think.
true,
Well,
true.
No, not really. Actually, I think I have a more recent game than you.
It's close. It's actually yours is...
Well, no, wait, no, that is older.
earlier.
That is
Yeah,
older.
yeah, because I can actually...
Oh, yes, I remember many nights playing that game back in the early 2000s.
And you'll find out what we're talking about soon. So, but let's get to... You want to do number 2?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll let you handle this one. If you want to introduce it.
Oh, well, actually, this is one I haven't played, so I don't really know a whole lot about it. Also, there's stuff I want to discuss about this, but we think Final Fantasy, which is the one we think is definitely going to make it in this year that wasn't on the nominee list last year.
But I think Final Fantasy absolutely has to be in
Which
there.
I need to play this.
Yes.
I'm going to sit down and play this, like, this week. I have to do it.
And I can totally guide you on that a little bit. Yes, I'm sticking by that sentence. Quote me on that.
Yeah, like I said, I've never played that one, so...
It's and there's people who saying no, Final Fantasy can't get in before Dragon Warrior.
Well, I honestly, to me, it's not the most iconic of the series, which is something I want to talk about, and also mention that the website you can go to, worldvideogamehalloffame.org, has a list of the top nominees right now, and they're looking for nominees for next year, and one of their top nominees right now is Final Fantasy VII, which I think is the most iconic one of the series.
And I would say it's probably the most iconic one of the series. I don't think there's any question there. But I think
which is why I'm kind of like I would rather they put that one in than if they're doing this as a representative of the entire series, then okay.
I don't think they're doing it as the entire series.
They're not.
So that's the other question.
That game. Singular.
So and for me, going back to what I was saying about Dragon Warrior, the thing is, we have RPGs today because of Final Fantasy. Dragon Warrior started something, but Dragon Warrior is like 1/100th of Final Fantasy in terms of content, length, in terms of depth of mechanics and everything it did, which is not knocking Dragon Warrior. I'm merely talking about scale, because I love Dragon Warrior. You've seen other videos on the channel. I went and procured an Icebox copy of it because it's an awesome game. But it's one of those things where it gave us a bit of the idea. And there were even text-based RPGs before that, and of course even D&D and Dragon Warrior.
You cannot get E-Flask.
Yeah, indeed. If only that was a real game we could play on our channel in full, and not the tiny bit on the website.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
okay.
yeah. But with that being said, Dragon Warrior is a little bit closer to the idea of like a D&D thing almost. Still video gameized. But Final Fantasy that is the beginning of basically RPGs, period. So Katie's saying we're in a Moogle. So I think that absolutely has to be in. Just the series itself, I mean, has not always gone from strength to strength. It's had its ups and downs and some strange side games and some very strange numbering issues.
I don't like the modern Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like 13. Especially that's always a thing. But with all that being said, there's no question in my mind. Final Fantasy, absolutely, it meets all the criteria. And we have so many things. We have JRPGs today because of Final Fantasy. So I think that alone, it needs to be in there. So.
That's global impact, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
So yeah, those are the first two of our three ones we agree on definitely making it in this year.
Shall we do our third lock?
And this is another one I was pretty surprised didn't make it in last year, but again, solid list for last year. Space Invaders.
Which unfortunately we don't have a cartridge of, but we have a cool little bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, Space Invaders was a phenomenon. I've read a little bit of history about it. And supposedly, the lore is that there was actually a Japanese shortage of quarters because they were all playing, or the Japanese version of a quarter, because they were playing Space Invaders. Like, I have heard this as a recurring bit of lore. How true it is, I can't say. But just the fact that that's an ongoing story tells you something, because it's always attached to that game. You don't hear that about Pac-Man. You don't hear that about any other, like, Missile Command or shit. But
yeah, I don't say this because I have any experience playing the arcade game. It's Space Invaders.
Yeah, I mean,
Space
we all
Invaders.
know, and like even the iconic Impact, we all know, like, you know, do, and we're firing up. It's like, oh my god, we're gonna fire up through the shield. We're risky. But it's just Space Invaders. I don't think we need to say more than that.
Ingrained in video gaming culture, absolutely.
So yeah,
forever and always.
It's a thing. Like, how many callback jokes do you get to that over the years? How many things just exist of the little flying aliens? It's Space Invaders. That's enough. Enough said. So.
In fact, I can't think of one particular symbol that encompasses all of gaming culture more than that little pixelated alien.
Yeah, that little pixelated alien. Like, we all know what that is. I think you're right.
Right.
So, well, you want to...
So now we're going to get into...
the divergence.
Well, no, we do have one other one that we agree on.
Although it's actually... Well, I don't know what order we want to do them in. It's actually my last one of the 6.
Okay.
But whatever you want to do. Or I can chime in when you have on yours.
From here, my list kind of gets... This is probably in my 4th or 5th position.
Okay,
probably
we'll just
4th,
talk about
actually.
it together then. So
John Madden Football.
Yeah. It started off, Electronic Arts, of course, makes it, back when they were Electronic Arts and not EA. And they released it on the Sega Genesis, and the impact of Madden Football is so huge, it's actually bigger than gaming.
That's what I think when we were, we've talked a lot about this list and what we think should make it in.
Many a night at the bar we're spent debating this.
I think I mentioned in one of the conversations that people who aren't even really that into gaming play Madden.
Yeah,
Madden is their thing.
They absolutely do that. And I think you look at so many things it did. It was the first, probably, well, not the first, certainly not the first, but one of the earliest games to get full licensing in terms of having access to everything, in terms of team names, in terms of stadium names, in terms of player names, in terms of everything. And it gave you so much depth on and on, having full seasons, having full rosters, and changing and adding and doing different modes every year. There was even one year where friends of mine, one day on Memorial Day when we had a cookout, got bored and said, you know what, let's sim an entire season as owners and not even play the game. So we simmed an entire season. I took the Lions, and you could get into minutia in this mode where you could change like just how much your stadium concession prices were. So I dropped my beer down to $1. And despite the fact that it being the Lions and like, something, we lost a lot of games, fan satisfaction was still through the roof. So I renamed my stadium Dollar Beer Plaza. Then we got an offer to move to Mexico, so I did, and I named it Uno Pacer Cerveza Plaza. It was Dollar Beer Stadium, then I named it Uno Pacer Cerveza Plaza. But stupid stories aside, the thing is, like, they've gone such depth. It was the first game to have yearly installments. And
that shit's too complicated for me. We got the most recent one. I'm like, I don't even know.
Sometimes they get a little too much. They need to get dial it back a little bit, or at least choose how much of it you want to access. But I think the final thing about this is we have sports games today because of Madden. We have FIFA in terms of gaming because of Madden. We have MLB The Show because of Madden.
Also, in the museum, when they put this in, whatever the exhibit they have for it is, they could also do like a little thing about the Madden curse. That would be interesting.
That actually was a phenomenon, especially through basically the late 90s to through the 2000s. The idea that whoever's on the cover either has a shit season or gets injured. Which for a while there it did. So, and obviously I know, quick note, obviously FIFA's soccer, MLB The Show is Major League Baseball, but the point is we even have games for other sports because of what Madden did. That's my thought there. So, all you.
All right, my next one, although Andy has made me doubt this a little bit, but I know I'm sticking to it. For me, is the Oregon Trail, which was also a nominee last year. Now, I personally haven't played this, which is surprising, but when I posted this on Facebook, the link to the nominees list, a lot of people commented on it that they thought the Oregon Trail should be in. These are people like, well, I don't know, like, obviously, people growing up now don't really understand.
They know the memes.
Yeah, like that's what I think. That's what I was talking to Andy about, because he's like, people now don't really know it. The longevity would come into question. But for me, like I was telling him, I think everyone knows the whole "you've died of dysentery" thing. Like it's more about the memes now, but like it was so iconic back then, and like people from my generation grew up playing that in their computer classes. Like that's what they would do.
I actually died of dysentery on a Mac. Believe it or not, in a Catholic school. I'm not Catholic. Long story. And I absolutely think it deserves to be on there. I just don't think... I think there were other titles I feel that should be on there before it this
I'm committing.
Year,
All right, I was a little wishy-washy when I was going into it, but no, I'm committing.
Yeah.
I think the Oregon Trail is going to make it in this year, and it was a
a
nominee last year. It's a nominee this year, and also when we were looking at the top nominees online right now, I believe it was it's also on the list right now. People are still voting for it.
Yeah.
So it's one of the top nominees still coming in for next year.
Yeah.
So.
And it absolutely belongs in there. It's just whether or not it's this year. And the thing is, the other titles on the list, I think some of those surpass it to get in this year. Is the only reason why. So, and I guess maybe I'll pick one of those. I think Street Fighter 2 absolutely belongs in there and will enter this year for a number of reasons.
That was probably just under what my list is. Like, it would be the next one that I would pick if I didn't have what I have here.
Yeah.
I think Street Fighter 2 would be it.
And that's what I said. I mean, it's a solid list. It's just like, it is tough to pick. I mean, I've gone back and forth myself a few times. The reason I ended up with Street Fighter 2, the reasons, there's a couple. It made fighting games. There were fighting games. In fact, there was obviously Street Fighter 1, or Fighting Street, as it was called when it got released to home consoles. But, yeah, pretty much. But the thing is, like, it was such a phenomenon at the time, and I was totally swept up in it, but it's lasted. It's never stopped being a thing. And it also, I don't want to say, it didn't resurrect arcades, because when it came out, arcade culture was probably at its height.
A little earthquake there.
But at the same time, it's the only thing that's kept arcades alive in a way, because it and the fighting games it spawned, there's still like street fighting clubs where, and it got this tie-in culturally with music somehow, specifically hip-hop that's tied in as well. So there's a Street Fighter scene now, essentially, because of this. And there's still tournaments every year, all across. EVO's always had it, other things. So I just feel like what it's did, but also it's never stopped. I mean, everybody was waiting for the next installment, and people play all the installments, all the good ones. It's had some shit over the years, but yeah, I feel like it's also the strongest arcade title of the list in terms of not original arcades, but in that early 90s, and really the last arcade heyday. I feel like, and it's like I said, it's kept arcades, what little is still in existence, it's kind of kept them alive as an underground thing. So, and for the record, Guile was my boy.
I suck at fighting games, so.
Sonic Boom!
I prefer the Street Fighter deck builder.
Which is also good. And it has a deck building game, no less. So.
Of course, well, okay, never mind. Where was I? Oh, I'm looking at the nominees list.
Yeah, so we got. Are we down to your surprise or?
Well, we're down to the one that I'm iffy on.
Okay.
So when I first made up this list, my 6th was The Sims, which was also. I'm mixing up my list.
It was on last year.
It was on the nominee list last year.
Yeah.
But I'm also torn now because one of the other games, everyone, like when I, like I said before, when I linked the list of nominees, everyone Sonic. And I didn't think that this was his year. He was also, or the Sonic the Hedgehog was also nominated last year. I thought for sure it would be like next year. Like just this year just didn't feel right. I thought maybe next year would be the time for him to go. But now, like, people have convinced me, like, Sonic the Hedgehog is iconic. And
he's absolutely iconic. There's no question.
I'm really torn now. The Sims, just for how huge it was, I don't know if they're still making Sims games.
Yeah, I mean, or at least expansions or similar
I only
things.
played the original when it came out on PC, and I sucked at it. Like, I was trying to fight to go to work and keep my house up, and then there were newspapers just piling up and decomposing on my lawn, and I gave up. So, that was the very original game on the PC.
But tell me about playing The Sims.
Fair enough. Although I've never subscribed to a newspaper. So
yeah, there you go. That's how I know the solution.
Yeah. But then, yeah, it's been so huge since then. I only have experience with the original game, but then there was Sims 2 and I think Sims 3, and then, like, a bajillion expansions.
There was a 4th and 5th, I think.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, and it's in one way, it's like the ultimate in casual gaming. In another way, it's really in-depth and intense casual gaming. Like,
then I feel
strange.
like everything else on my list is more retro. I needed a more modern game to put on there because I can't see them putting all of these old games on there. I think The Sims absolutely deserves to be in. It was a nominee last year. It's a nominee this year, although it's not on the top nominees list right now for next year. But I still think I think it deserves to be in. But yeah, like I said, my last spot is I'm torn between Sonic the Hedgehog and The Sims.
Yeah, and they're both solid choices.
I can't commit to one either way.
Yeah, so. I mean, Sonic is Sonic. We know Sonic. I mean, that's definitely on there. And of course, The Sims, like she said, everything about that's true too. They both belong in there absolutely. And I weighed both of those out pretty heavily as well. And in the end, I actually picked something different for my last nominee, and that is Grand Theft Auto 3. And the reason being, Grand Theft Auto 3, this isn't a phrase I want to use lightly because it gets overused in the internet age. Phrases like this have lost their value, but this one time it is absolutely true. It changed everything.
It did.
Unquestionably changed everything. It's actually not even the first thing that lets you run around in something of an open world and do a bunch of crazy things. Shenmue actually came before that and let you do some of that, but it didn't let you be a complete asshole, which Grand Theft Auto 3 did. But it added so many trappings, and it was a very American vibe, where Shenmue, of course, had, what it did was a very different thing from this. This invented the idea, and they eventually had to come up with a term to describe it, which is the sandbox, which is kind of what it was. You had so many different things you could do, and you didn't have to play the game to play the game. You didn't have to engage with the story. You could hop in a car, run into other cars, change the radio station, run over pedestrians.
I was going to insert some of my own experience with this game. I remember, like, when GTA 3 came out, I remember it, and my friends and I would get together at someone's house, and we would just play that game all night and not play the actual story mode. We would just drive around and do stupid shit.
Yeah, like to see the stupidest shit
I never saw anyone actually play the game.
Yeah.
Like,
I know we did. You guys probably did too. Like, you'd have little challenges, like, hey, I wonder if I can do this stunt, or how far can we make it off this
how long
jump?
can you drive on 2 wheels?
Yeah, or we managed one time. There was a tank code, a cheat code that would let you drop a tank in.
I almost mentioned that getting the tank was a huge deal.
And a buddy of mine, my friend Chevy, and I were playing it one night, and we don't know how he did it, but somehow he hit a bump and with the tank and got up and went sideways and ended up rail sliding the center of the bridge with the tank all the way across. We've never replicated it. We've got like a few feet in. We don't know what we did or how the game preserved momentum for us, or even
that went on for a couple years. I remember that was like a huge thing with my group of friends for a couple years after that, like just sitting around playing GTA 3 without actually playing it, just being stupid.
Because you could just engage with it and have fun with no, real consequences, seriousness, and just enjoy anything in that open world. And
also, obviously, super controversial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, that reminds me, one we didn't, we haven't even talked about. Well, we'll get into what we think deserves.
Yeah, things that eventually deserve.
But I just thought of another one, which, speaking of controversy, I'll.
But to wrap it up with, but the final thing to wrap up about Grand Theft Auto 3 is it did have an interesting and engaging story. Good for the time voice acting. Silent main character, which was stupid. And they got rid of that with Vice City onwards once Tommy Vercetti hit. They started getting real actors even, and it became such a phenomenon that real actors were starting to appear in all of the games, and they often do. And just it started things that, and obviously there were Grand Theft Auto games before on PC and PS1, and they were top down, looked very, very different. Grand Theft Auto 3 changed everything, and that's why I think it deserves to be in there as well. So, yep. So something I think, and Katie had just alluded to, we wanted to also talk about games that we think should eventually be inducted that aren't on the list.
Yeah.
So I think we had a couple of ideas there.
Well,
so,
I said we should start a campaign right now on this blog. Get some people to push it.
Push it for next year as a nominee.
And I think we settled on Resident Evil.
Absolutely. The first Resident Evil, I think that's one that when you look at their criteria, you can't question that it belongs in there. So I say we push it for next year. It's not one of the top
nominees right now, so you guys need to
get on it. We all need to start voting.
Let's get some survival horror in there.
Yep, it belongs, and Resident Evil is the one that needs to go in first. Yeah. So we need to get the Spencer Mansion and the Arklay Mountains and the Master of Unlocking and the Jibble Sandwich and Chris before he had T-virus arms bigger than his head nominated. Before he joined the Navy in tiny shorts. Oh, God. Revelations as a costume. Google it and then regret it.
And the one I just thought of and I had to write down because I was speaking of controversy, and I can't believe I hadn't thought of it yet, is Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hadn't either. Mortal Kombat, it's...
talk about a game changer there.
That actually, and it's been the other main fighting franchise and style of game,
but
too.
when it came out, you remember.
Oh, yeah.
I remember being a kid playing
live action,
that.
And the fatalities. And
there was one fatality I couldn't perfect. It was Liu Kang's. It was the lame one anyway.
It was the one that looked least like an actual fatality. Yeah. But, of course, he was the biggest face in the game. The face being good guy. And even like when it came out, I remember it actually came out on a Monday, not a Tuesday, when it came to home consoles. It was Mortal Monday. And the whole idea was like Genesis, at the time they couldn't put all the blood and some fatality types in, except that there was this whole thing on the Genesis. It popped up with this screen at the beginning and talked about codes, and it was like this whole thing. There are many types of codes, yada, yada, yada. Codes like this, codes like that, and at the bottom it's like, but the question is, does Mortal Kombat contain a code? On that screen, if you enter in the code, there is a blood code. And, you're playing Mortal Kombat, and that's basically why it was better on the Genesis.
I'm pretty sure you can go on YouTube and find or search for an Inside Edition report about how Mortal Kombat was going to turn us all into, evil serial killers.
Probably that with a little bit of Night Trap.
Yeah.
From, God.
It's been happening, since the beginning of... or the dawn of gaming times, I guess.
But you know what? If Space Invaders didn't make all of Japan line up and shuffle left and right while moving downward gradually, we're probably okay. I don't know why the double thumbs up is my move tonight. So,
what was this?
No, this is good. This is... This is not to you guys.
Well, we've already been chatting for half an hour.
Yeah, so we should probably...
I don't even know what...
Cut this out.
The only other thing we had written down was what the top nominees are for this year, or well, next year. Right now on the website, but you can go there. Like I said, worldvideogamehalloffame.org. Go there and check it out. See what the top nominees are for 2017. Enter Resident Evil if you want to be nice.
Yes, Resident Evil. We're starting the campaign now.
You should make it. Another one we did discuss. I'm not going to talk about it because obviously this is running a little long. Mist
belongs in there too. Yeah, so that's another one. I think that eventually has to hit there, and that should be another good nominee for next year. So yeah, that's our thoughts on it. Please share yours with us. Hit us up in the comments.
Let us know what you think. What you think of our list. What you think is going to make it in that we didn't mention.
Yep. So agree, disagree, neutral.
What do you think should be in there?
Yeah, just thoughts about the whole process. Thoughts about what should, maybe merit a game. Thoughts even like, also, is 6 too few to enter a year? That's another valid thing I've wondered.
I don't think so. I think that's perfect. 15 nominees, 6 make it in. That's
not quite
I think that's perfect. Yeah. But I also want to mention that the World Video Game Hall of Fame is located at, I believe, the Strong Museum, which is in Rochester, New York, and we've actually talked about taking a trip up there sometime, and because we're not that. I mean, it's not. It's that far away.
It's probably an 8-9 hour drive.
And so hopefully we'll be able to go there sometime and actually report from the World Video Game Hall of Fame at the museum.
So yeah. So that's good about it for us. I think I actually spoke intelligibly there. So thank you guys for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments, and stay tuned. Always more to come. And until next time, see you, Space Cowboys. Hi.
Hi.
Oh God, do you need a breath mint?
Oh, hi.
You need all of the breath mints.
No! God damn it!
Oh,
no.
Wow! Did you?
Shit!
Wow! Did you just fuck that up all day?
Hit the wrong button. You wanted to stare at that statue's boobs.
I did. I'm just like, shit, man. There's zombies everywhere. I need to ground myself. I don't care if they're carved in stone. They're still titties. Is what I'm saying. Because the worst thing that could happen right now is I might see zombie titties. That's gonna ruin titties for me, okay?